Hi hobby friends, let's talk about speed painting. But first, while you watch me fail to put on this glove, just a quick thank you for the lovely response to the panel lining vid. I guess it's small fry by YouTube standards, but the thought that over 57,000 people have watched at least 30 seconds of my ramblings is crazy and super cool. Thank you. Okay, let's go. I have 46 rats on my desk and they need to be red and white Clan Moors Nasties ASAP. But I don't want to make compromises, they need to look good. Every step has to count. That's why we're foregoing black and going straight to burgundy for the undercoat. This is going to be a great chromatic base for a lot of what's to come. To be honest though, this isn't really the first step per se. The first step is planning. If you want fast quality minis, it isn't playtime. Save your experiments for more relaxed painting projects. We need to know what we're doing here and when we're doing it. And I can say, except for one little slip up later, I stuck to my plan on this project for every step. Thinking about what you're doing is just as important as straight up practice for becoming a better painter. The burgundy is done and our foundation for the armour and skin is locked in. But we need a little more definition, so grab some orange and throw a loose Zenithal highlight on there. We need information on this mini, information about the light, about the character, the environment, the textures, the materials. This step gives us one portion of our light information and pops out all the details for us. Now, let's get some chromatic info on there. White is a pain to paint because the paint can be chalky, will always take several layers to get a good coverage if you do it with a brush, and it can be a bit unintuitive for shading. So, even though I'm not going to be able to get perfect edges on this white cloth, I'm going to do this step with ink through the airbrush. The microdots from the airbrush are also going to help us with some textural information too. While we're here, we're going to do a sneaky little highlight on those spear blades as well. The white's done, and now it's time to reinforce that red and clean up some of our overspray. The order you do things in is really important in efficient painting, so again, you need to plan. I'm using Instant Colour's Dragon's Blood from Scalecolor, which is a contrast style paint. This will deepen our red armour, give us some recess shading, and maintain some of the orange volume sketch from earlier. Win, win, win. Same deal with the wood, a contrast style paint slathered on. Keep the brush loaded but controlled and get the wood covered. And that's day 1 done. Day 2, we block in the skin using Instant Colour Beastly Brown to pull the tone just a little bit away from orange. It's a really gentle colour, but it makes all the difference in differentiating and defining the skin areas, so not at all a waste of time. While that skin paint is still pretty wet, I dive in with some black for the fur. I don't own any black contrast type paint, I just mix up half and half Instant Colour Medium with black ink. We want to get in here while the skin is still a bit wet so that we can do a little light wet blending where it seems needed. I'm afraid I totally forgot to film the metallics, guys, but it's just one pass of metal colour Duraluminium and a few bits of copper here and there, so you didn't miss much. Okay, nice. Just one more main colour block to take care of. These guys want Warpstone weapons, so we need to get those bad boys green. If you want to know why the heck I'm painting them yellow, check my orc skin video, linked in the corner and the description. The boys are looking bananas and we're about to do a scary step. Our environment for these guys is a snowy, craggy mountaintop. I picture it to be a bright winter day. If you take a look at reference material, you'll see that shadows in environments like that, especially on white, often appear blue. So, in goes blue ink, heavily thinned if you're not a confident airbrusher, and spraying gently from below, we add a big whack of environmental, light, and form information in one super speedy step. And bonus, the blue interacts with the red to push towards a chromatic black, which works as the shadow on our armour too. We are sailing into the end of day 2 and feeling super confident and all is well, and then disaster strikes. An innocent update shot of the Skaven sent to my client for this job had me rereading our messages and realising I had been an idiot. I'd completely misinterpreted the brief for the skins. 100% my fault, and a lesson that communication is paramount. Deep breath. Quick think. Run a test after dinner on the evening of day 2, and prepare myself for the grind on day 3. Day 3, and no corners to be cut, I'm afraid. I need to go over the skins with regular acrylics, 3 layers for each volume. I thought any light skin would be fine to contrast the black fur, but specifically the brief was for white-skinned rats, and these guys are currently brown. It's a good opportunity to show what a huge spectrum white is though, so I'm going for a creamy, warm off-white to contrast with the cool, so-called pure white of the cloth. That took almost all of day 3, so imagine how clickbaity the title could have been if I'd read my brief properly. But we're not quite done with the work hours and overtime for today, and I'm in the mood for a quick fix. Break out the Phthalocyanine green and blast those spear blades with a glorious green endorphin rush. And while we're doing things that take no time and have a huge impact, let's slather these mischievous rodents with a burnt sienna oil wash. For more on oils, check my Black Death Corpse of Krieg video. One slight change to the usual process here though is that after cleaning with a dry cotton bud, I went in with a cotton bud that was very slightly dampened with mineral spirits. Use this to pull away the last of the oils on the highest highlights on your white cloth. If you're keeping track, that's now a burgundy undercoat, orange highlight, titanium white base, blue shadow and sepia filter on that white cloth. That is a lot of visual information, and the reason I have to take a deep breath when people ask me for my recipe for white. Day 3, we are done with you. Day 4 and the final stretch. It's easy to get lost in these final detailing steps, so I opened up a text document and wrote out my to-do list here. We've got to keep organised if we're going to smash our goal of 40 in 4 days. Let's start with some edge highlighting, namely some yellow on the Warpstone. Remember from the Fire Prism video, we want a little skinny brush and good angles here. The blades are done and it's time to get that armour looking super punchy. I'm using Kimera Colors The Red, and honestly I would say sticking the before a colour and using that as the name for your paint is a little bit conceited, but damn, this really is the red. I absolutely love it. We're doing block highlighting on any up-facing surface here, no real blending. I did feather some edges a little bit, but I'm relying on the chromatic proximity of the tones to let the viewer's eye do the blending work, and the strong contrast really sells that bright daylight effect as well. So basically, one pass here and we're done. I also dotted my eyes with the red here too. So close now guys. On my palette I have pure titanium white, a light cool grey and a warm, very slightly off-white. I use the off-white to touch up and reinforce the highlights on the skin, and the titanium white to add some scratchy, slightly random highlights to the cloth. This really makes the white pop and gets that texture dialed up to 11. Let your brush strokes tell the tales of war. The grey is here to glaze in over any bits of blue shadow I want to fix up or tone down. Zip through all those little miscellaneous details, throw a free hand on the 2 banners, and that is it. 40 Skaven, oh and 2 warp throwers and a doom flare in 4 days. I understand not everyone is going to have 4 full days to dedicate to a project. In terms of hours, I'd say these guys were around the 40-hour mark, but I hope this shows that with some careful planning and breaking down your process into discrete steps, you can get big batches of great looking, no compromises minis in a reasonable time frame. Alright, I'm just happy to be sharing my hobby with you guys here, but if you want more, tap the buttons, check the links, and I'll see you next time.